Hello, hello. Hey, Sweet Spot family. Oh my goodness. Welcome back to the DeAnda Factor. If you are new here, I'm DeAnda. And this is your space for growth, grace, and glowing up in real time. Before we jump in, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe so you're always notified when a new episode is dropped. And tell me in the comments, are you tired or are you burnt out? Because listen, life is lifing. We're in February, we're full on in 2026, and we've got the Winter Olympics going on the way. We've got the Super Bowl this evening, actually, and we've got deadlines, we've got dreams, we've got family obligations, healing, health, and all of life's little things. You know what I'm talking about, right? So somehow we're expected to carry it all, and I know you know what I'm talking about. So we smile through it, produce through it, push through it. But I'm learning that surviving is not the same as thriving. And quite a bit, this has been coming up quite a bit for me, as well as some of my colleagues, friends, and family. Burnout is real. And I don't know, let me be honest. I didn't realize I was in burnout mode. And I just thought I was just being responsible, being reliable, being that girl, being that Virgo girl. But really, I was overgiving, overextending, and overcommitting, really. And I know you know what I'm talking about because we all experience this, particularly women, Black women in particular, because that's who I'm talking to. But I feel like I was saying yes to everything and no to myself. And one day I had to admit being capable does not mean being available, right? And sometimes you get kind of lost in those meanings. Sometimes you get caught up in the, oh, I can do it, it's easier if I do it all myself. It's easier if I, put forth, this jump in and take over it. Even when I know I don't have time to do it, even when I know I don't have the bandwidth to do it. I am one to, say yes before I think through, do you have capacity to say yes? Do you have capacity to actually do that? And you don't think about, I'm going to try to talk in I statements. I don't think about the consequences of what I'm giving up for me. I don't think about just taking time for myself. I'm always looking, past myself or not even considering, what I have to do to go and help and be there for someone else. So let me take a sip here. So let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries and setting those things up for yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So again, I want to welcome you to the DeAnda Factor, and we're going to really just dive into it. What we're talking about today is setting boundaries, delegating, and what that means and how to actually do that successfully so that you can grow and be at ease and have joy without guilt and without feeling obligation. Okay. So let's first start with boundaries. What are boundaries? Boundaries are not walls. They're not about being mean. They're not about being distant. They are about setting or making bridges. And I'm going to go deeper into that. Making bridges to healthier relationships, clearer expectations, both for yourself and others, and self-respect. Bridges to bring in self-respect for you to take full view of yourself. Boundaries, when you set boundaries, what they say to others and what they say to yourself even is, this is where I end. And this is where you begin. I started working on my time boundaries. I started working on my emotional boundaries. I started working on my work boundaries, digital boundaries, my personal boundaries and relationship boundaries, because not everybody deserves you 24/7. They don't deserve access to you 24 hours a day. And that's something that is, when you think about it, hard to kind of digest and take in. And when you think about think about the boundaries that you have to set, the things that you automatically just give sometimes without somebody even asking you to give it, you're automatically jumping in to give it. So I'm going to give you a few examples of boundaries that I have set, examples from, friends, and what were the solutions to setting those boundaries and implementing those sets, right? So when I started working the job that I'm working presently, before I even first day, I was, used to, hey, you give it all, you give it all, you start your day and when you work from home, it is even more of a boundary that you need to set up because you need to distinguish your personal from your work. And knowing that this was a fully remote role, my boundary was my mornings were my mornings. So I set a time before I was logging on that was mine. And I made it clear, I blocked it off on my calendar, my work calendar. And I had, and these are called like time boundaries, right? I blocked off time in the middle of the day that I had just for me. Like, I blocked this time off in the morning once I did log on for work. That was dedicated to going through any emails that may have come on once I had logged off the night before, to look at that to-do list and, what's on that to-do list from the day before that I need, anything that I need to maybe add on to that, any meetings that may have, appeared on my calendar again after I've logged off, because I need to make something else clear that while I worked East Coast hours, like my manager and part of the team worked on Mountain Time. So their 5 o'clock was, my was a little later than mine, right? So some things would come on after I've logged off. So I would, take a look at those things in the morning, and I would block off maybe 30 minutes just to peruse my calendar. And, if anything, was hot, I needed to jump into a meeting that was like their first thing, which again gave me a little bit more time because I'm an hour ahead of them. So I would do that. I logged off every day at the same time. I made that clear. I communicated this to my supervisor and other team members. This was blocked off on my calendar. So there's no, oh, I didn't see this on your calendar, so I put this meeting on, which would, leave me there. No. Was very strict about that coming in the door. And a lot of people, when you say stuff like that, oh my God, I could never do that. I would, they'll fire me. They won't if you start with the expectation of, this is my time. This is mine. And I'm not going to let you take that away from me. This is a boundary that cannot be crossed unless I let you cross it, right? So a time boundary. And a lot of times we feel like we don't have the wherewithal or should impose that type of boundary, but you can and you should, because it's your time. You're giving this company, a lot. Not only that, they're basically coming into my house on a day-to-day basis. So I had to set these time boundaries so that I didn't get too bogged down. And there were days when I didn't take lunch because I'm working, there are days when, because a meeting is on, I'm not taking that, 10-minute, let's get up from the computer break or whatever. So those are the things where I would, kind of compromise and be, have a little wiggle room in, but the logging on every day, I would take 3 set breaks throughout the day. One being lunch. Even if I didn't, eat during that time, I needed to step away from the computer. One, it, made me clearer when I came back for the task at hand. It, kind of cleared the cobwebs, if you will. And it allowed me to, just kind of stretch it out. Sometimes I would just like walk around the block and come back. And sometimes I feel like I was more productive when I did that, when I took those breaks and just kind of push back. And they wouldn't be long, no more than maybe 10 minutes, with the exception of the lunch break, which was maybe 30 minutes. But for the most part, because I'm really good at, doing my meal prep. So all I'm doing is maybe, pulling out the salad and that kind of thing, or, heating up something really quickly or whatever. So, I didn't have to do a lot of downtime in terms of like going to pick something up or cooking a meal. So again, I found the sweet spot. And, it is important that you choose those boundaries for yourself, because nobody else, the company didn't care if I worked through lunch. The company didn't care if I never got up from that computer desk once I logged on until I logged. They didn't care. They just wanted the work done. They don't care. They just want the work done. So you have to do this for yourself. So another situation that I'm going to share with you, and this is actually a friend of mine that took place, and we actually had this conversation just the other day, and I just felt so bad for her. So I'm going to give you kind of the bullet points of this situation and what was the solution that I provided to her, and give you the solution that I provided to her. So she is a director of a nonprofit where she has, I think, maybe 6 or 7, she supervised 6 or 7 people under her in this department of the company. She is also a part-time director, which ends up being full-time because it's a nonprofit and it's pretty much like, work has to be done. So it's like she has 2 full-time jobs, if you can believe it. She also has a family that she's, very much involved in. Her community, very much involved in. She has, I think, there's her mother, there's her partner. She has an adult daughter who has a child, so she's a grandmother. She has a teenager in the house, so she's, navigating all of this, along with the responsibilities she has at these 2 jobs. And she loves her work. She loves her work. She came to me saying, I love my work, but it's only February and I'm already feeling tired. I'm already tired. And I know you can relate to this, y'all. I know you can. So I listen, and, she kind of gave some points on, it's always something to do. People are coming in and out of my office, pretty much all day, phone calls, emails, addressing emails, going to, functions. Almost every day of the week, there's something going on, and she's never saying no. She's hardly ever saying no. So I'm listening. And I said to her, you got to start saying no. Say no to them and say yes to yourself. And the other thing was, I felt, and this is something that you can do as well, and I will get more into this a little bit later in this video, but I suggested that she sit down and draft everything that she does. Everything. All the things that she can think of, just, and maybe give herself, I gave her a complete, 2 to 3 week timeline to do this in. So, for about 7 to 8 days, just jot down everything, because you're not in one sitting gonna remember everything that you do, right? So, on a Tuesday, you got 5 things, and then on a Thursday, you may have, 6 other things. So I said, give yourself some time, give yourself a week. Don't, go in and scratch anything off, but just keep putting stuff on that list. And this could be on your phone, writing it down, whatever is good for you. And at the end of that period that you've set for yourself, then this is what I told her. Then you go back and you review it all. Just review it. You're just looking at it. You're not, taking away. You're not deleting anything. You're just looking over it, reviewing. Oh man. And you'll find out, really, I'm doing a lot of stuff. I got 100 things on this list. I'm doing a lot, and I'm never saying no. I'm saying yes. Every time somebody, comes into my office and I'm in the middle of doing something, I'm saying yes. Come on in. You're interrupting what I'm doing. So I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm saying yes. That's you saying yes to them and not yourself, because you're having to put your stuff on hold, right? So I said, I want you to go through it. And then after maybe 4 to 5 days of just reviewing, then I want you to look at that list and decide what should be delegated, given to someone else to do, what can be postponed, what can be, what can there be a boundary that you insert there on this particular task or thing? And one of the things that I mentioned to her is, this is something that we do in my current company. And this was across the board. And since she's the director, she could implement this. And it's carving out an hour to 2 hours on a day or every day where there are no meetings. There are no phone calls that the phone calls will roll over into voicemail. The no knocking on my door, you go through and you use this time for whatever you need to use it from. Now it's work. So it's not go, get your teeth clean type of things, because that is your time. You use your, PTO for that, right? But on this, and I forgot what we call it. I'll have to look that up later. At any rate, you then start to, if you do this across the board, and she could start with just herself, but if she does it across the board, it gives them also license to dive into, I have all these meetings that, that keep me from doing the real work, that, all these interruptions that keep me from, and that you end up, staying later, which then impedes on that family time that you set up. So when I introduced this to her, mentioned that to her, she was like, oh my gosh, that could be a game changer, because again, she has 2 jobs. So I said, you have to implement that. You have people who already, are willing and are hired to support you. Use them. You need to delegate some of the things that you're saying yes to. You don't have to be at every community function. Yes, you are the director, but you do not have to be the face of it every time, every week, every day. Delegate some of that out, And she was thinking, she wasn't, she was taking notes or whatever. And she was like, I'm already thinking about 2 or 3 things that I've, said no, said yes to this week that I can put to, my deputy or my assistant, And I'm like, there you go. I said, you can start small, and you all can start small, but you have to, if you do not advocate for yourself, if you do not say yes to yourself, nobody else will. Here's the thing, like if I need something from you and all you do is say yes, I'm going to keep coming to you because I know you're going to say yes. Why wouldn't I? And that's human, right? That's not them being mean. That's not you being, slighting, not being mean. But if you start to say no, if you start exercising that no muscle, because no is a complete sentence. That's the other thing. But if you start to insert that boundary, others they'll just follow suit because they don't have a choice. You eliminate that thing, every time that you run into, one of her, the people that she supervised run into a hiccup, she has this, well, just come to me. And it's starting to be more of a burden. She does not want to get to, and this is what she told me, I do not want to get to a point where I'm not liking the job that I now love. But I'm on my way to doing that. I'm getting ready to cut some things off because I'm already tired, and it's just February, right? We haven't even fully gotten into all of the programs that she's about to, and she named like at least 12 programs that she was, starting to work on and getting funding for and so on and so forth. I'm like, you have to, sis, you have to. And I know you know what I'm talking about. I know you know what I'm talking about. So let's get into with, having given you a kind of preview of, boundaries and that kind of thing. Let's get into delegating. Let's get into that. It is so okay. Let me say this. When we talk about delegation or delegating, it's kind of hard because this is why I'm hesitating. Because especially Virgo girl like me, because I don't want to give up anything. I think I can do all things, or at least I used to. I am graduating from that kind of school of thought that I don't have to do it all and I don't have to do it all alone, right? Some of us are tired from trying to do it all. And everything does not require my hands. Everything does not require my energy. Everything does not require my stress. Okay? So delegation is not and should not be looked at as a weakness. And that's another thing that I'm actually going to repeat that. Delegating, delegating in the workplace, in the home, it should not be looked at as a weakness. And it's not a weakness. It's wisdom. It's saying to yourself and others, I trust others. I value my time. I'm building sustainability. That's what it's saying. When I delegate, I create space for creativity. I get to rest. And it is for alignment as well when you delegate. So, I want to fully stress that, when you reach into your toolbox and you're trying to figure out, well, how do I do this? How do I, lay down some new routines and pulling in some new tools. One is delegating. One is creating boundaries. The other one is creating boundaries and sticking to them. Because that's the other thing. You create a boundary and the next second, you're letting, you're saying they're knocking at your door and you're just saying, come on in, and that's where the respect for self comes in, because you're not respecting your own time. You're not respecting yourself. So you have to implement these new ways of performing and being. And I'm not going to tell you it's easy, because it's not going to be. I'm going to tell you it was not easy for me. Virgo girl wanted to do it all, be it all. And I love it when my friends come to me and say, hey, this is what's going on. And if I have an answer for them, oh my gosh, I'm in my sweet spot. I love doing that, right? And so you may be in a, maybe the same way or in a different way, looking at it that way as well. And I'm saying to you, you have to find or reach into those tools and find a way to create those boundaries where you won't be compromising yourself. So let's talk about the practical tools that you can use. Let's talk about that. There are 3, I think, that we're going to mention. And these tools will for sure help and change your life just the way they helped and changed mine. Number one, and you heard me say this a little bit earlier, no is a complete sentence. I'm going to say it again. No is a complete sentence. And I know they have a whole book on, saying yes, saying yes, saying yes. But we know how to do that. We know how to do that. We know, especially women and especially Black women. We do it throughout our day, from the time we wake up until the time we go to sleep, and sometimes during sleep, because we may have posted something where we've said, in a way, yes, I'll do it. I got you. I can do that. You can say no. You don't have to make a speech. You don't have to give a dissertation. No is enough. No, period. And that's it. Number 2, rest is productive. Rest is not lazy. Rest is maintenance. I used to say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I had a friend say, but you'll be dead. And I was thinking about that. And I'm like, you are 100% correct. Which, what that does is it puts you on a never-ending treadmill, if you will, of no return, really, because you're saying that hustle culture, I already told y'all, I'm no longer about that. Just the word makes me tired, right? So put in, when you're setting your boundaries, when you're delegating, you're also putting in, I'll be able to close my eyes in peace, without grief, without, feeling overwhelmed, because I have given it over to somebody who is capable, who is able to do it, and it's no longer mine. One of the things that I want to also stress, that when I told my friend when I gave her this exercise to do, I told her that it was going to be, it is going to be hard, right? To let go of things, but to give yourself grace. Start and end with grace with this, because it's new. It's a new muscle that you're exercising, so that's the thing. You got to give yourself grace. So number 3, use the boundary worksheet. So I am linking that below, and you can use the boundary worksheet. I created a boundary worksheet for you to get clear, intentional, and to empower you. You can download it, fill it out, return it. It's your peace plan, and it is going to get you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps closer to setting boundaries, delegating, and growing. It's going to add peace. It is going to give you the rest you need. And it is going to have you take a full look at what you've been given out and what you're going to give back to yourself. That is what it's going to do. So I'm going to recap that. So number 1 is no is complete sentence. Number 2 is rest is productive. And number 3 is use the boundaries worksheet. And I mean that, sis. Okay. Again, I'm linking that below, so you'll have that. So let's get into a bit of reflection. Let's reflect together. I want you to ask yourself, where am I overgiving? So I want you to take stock. I want you to really take a moment to look at, where are you overgiving? Is it in the workplace? Is it in your personal life? Is it both? And it doesn't necessarily, I don't necessarily mean a husband or a partner or boyfriend or trying to get one. I don't mean just that. I mean everything. I mean your sister, your mother, your, your kids, all of it. Where are you, over extending yourself where you could be splitting some of that responsibility up with someone else in your family, splitting some of that up with whoever else is on your team. And you don't have to be a director for you to be overwhelmed. You can say no to your boss. There are ways for you to say, hey, I already have 5 projects that I'm in the middle of. I cannot take on a 6. That's saying no, right? And understanding that. But you say it in a respectful way. You say it in a way that I'm not taking on everything. And you don't have to worry about what Susie's over here doing. I'm doing more than, no, we're not comparing. We're just saying, I'm not taking it on. I'm not taking that on. So the first question you're going to ask yourself is, where am I over giving? The second question is, who has unlimited access to me? Who is it? Is it your boss? Is it your kids? Is it your partner? Is it your mother? Is it your sister? Is it your brother? Is it your auntie? Who has unlimited access to me? What does that mean, this person or entity having this much access to me? Does that mean I don't get 8 hours of sleep is what I need? Does it mean that I skip lunch because of this access? Does it mean that I am cooking Sunday dinner every Sunday when sometimes everybody don't even show up, because you're trying to keep the family in this certain way? The next question is, what needs to change this season? Now, this question, I feel like is the easiest one, because if you are resonating with needing to impart boundaries and delegate stuff, there's a number of things that need to change this season. But I am asking this question just for one thing. Let's start with one thing. When you start with small steps, the larger the impact, in my opinion. So what is that one thing that you need to change this season? The next question, or that's actually the last question, because I don't want to overwhelm you all. I'm going to repeat those questions. Where am I overgiving? That's the first question. The second question is, who has unlimited access to me? And that could be more than one person. You can even say, I want to have a personal life column and I want to have a work life column. And you ask those questions and fill in the blank, right? And the last question, which I feel like is the most important one, is what needs to change this season? And it's what needs to change with me, not with somebody else, because you can't control them. You can control you. Growth requires honesty. And so I want you to be truly honest with yourself. Once you have jotted the answers to these questions down, be honest with yourself. Go back over it and say, okay, I'm not being honest. It's really not my boss. It's really this other colleague who keeps putting her work on me. So I want you to be real honest, get really in the muck of it so that you're able to, get into your sweet spot with it, right? I want you to, think past the perfection, trying to be perfect and trying to be the best at, think past that, because that's not needed in this exercise. I just want honesty. I want you to be honest. Okay. So with that, you would think that would be our daily sweet spot sparkle challenge. but I have another one for you. Actually, it's kind of a 5-step thing, and you can incorporate those 3 questions that I just gave you, because they will also require you to be honest. But here's the challenge, and I'm looking over here so I can make sure that I give you exactly what I want you to have here. I want you to write down 2 to 3 things you will say no to this week. 2 to 3 things. If it ends up being one big thing, I'll take it. But I want you to really think through it, be honest with yourself. And again, you can kind of categorize it as, work things and or personal things. Okay. I want you to complete the boundaries worksheet. It's really short, and you can really kind of dive in it really quickly. But it's going to help you get to the other side of me. It's going to help you get to the other side of peace. It's going to help you get to the other side and closer to growth. Okay. I want you to take 30-minute guilt-free break. Just one. Take a 30-minute guilt-free break. And that can include turning off your phone for 30 minutes. That can include, just going to sit in your car, and listening to, music that you love and singing along, singing out loud, right? But it's you. It's taking a break for you, right? And number 4, I want you to delegate one task. And I want you to do this on Tuesday. Just delegate one task on Tuesday. Give it to somebody else. You don't have to give it to them forever. You can give it to them for just that day. You can give it to them for a week. You can give it to them for a month. Give it to them for a year. You can give it to them forever. But you find one task that you will delegate and give to someone else to lighten your load. The last one is, and I'm going to say that this one is optional because everybody doesn't journal. I love to journal. I find, therapy and solace in doing that, getting it out on paper. So I'll say that this will be an option out of the 5 things. And it includes journal. Where am I over giving? And because you are going to answer this question from the reflections that I asked a little bit earlier. But if you journal about that, I think more will evolve and come out of that, develop out of that for you to then be able to go back to and reflect on. Okay. I hope that this video resonated with someone. I hope that we together get to the other side of giving ourselves grace, setting boundaries that provide growth, delegating tasks that provide growth and peace. That's what I hope. Sweet Spot family, always, 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 thank you for sitting with me today. Thank you for choosing yourself. And remember, you deserve rest. You deserve respect. You deserve reciprocity. I'll see you in the next episode. Stay grateful, stay grounded, and stay in your sweet spot. Remember, I have linked below the boundaries worksheet. See you next time. Thank you so much.